Hey everybody, it's Neal Ronahan with Nintendo World Report TV, and I'm here with John Raridan.
Hello.
And we're going to talk all about Star Fox Zero and a little bit of Star Fox Guard, because our reviews are online right now.
Woo!
Yay! So you can hop on over to NintendoWorldReport.com and see our reviews, which I think, John, you might know my score. I don't know what score you're giving Guard. So
I have no idea. I have no idea what your score is right now.
Okay,
I don't know what my score is for Guard right now.
Oh,
This
okay.
is
Well,
weird.
My Star
You
Fox
guys
Zero-
know more than I do right now, I guess.
Yeah. But no, I guess when we get to the end of our Star Fox Zero review discussion, if you have not read the review, I will reveal the score, but I'll keep it secret
I'll
now.
make up a score for Star Fox Guard and then be stuck with it. 10 out of 10.
So, John, you have spent the past year playing every Star Fox game.
Yeah.
Did Star Fox Zero live up to your expectations?
I'd say so. I think I was kind of worried that it would be a bit of a... Obviously, it's kind of a Star Fox 64 remake, but not really. Like, it uses a lot of, like... It essentially...
much a Star Fox 64 remake. It's like the one thing that bugs me about the whole game.
Here's the thing.
I feel like I played it before.
It's a reimagining. It definitely replaces Star Fox 64 in the timeline.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd say that, Corneria certainly feels like Star Fox 64.
Mm-hmm.
But every other level in there feels pretty new. Even the levels that are taking place in areas that were in Star Fox 64 have like no similarities with those levels from 64.
I think I see your point in that it's not like it's a straight remake, but it follows almost identically the structure and beats. Like, okay, it might not have been Peppy who crashed in Star Fox 64, but someone crashed. You might not have like met up with Starwolf in this location, but at a very similar time in Star Fox 64, you fought Starwolf. Like, it just and maybe I'm being a little too harsh on it, because, like, you think about it, like, there's the Zelda structure that I think works, but I mean, maybe it's a little more disappointing because this is, like, the third Star Fox game we've gotten in the past decade,
it's the first Star Fox game we've gotten in a long time that follows that, generally considered traditional Star Fox structure.
Yeah.
And so we're not used to the Star Fox structure, I guess, like you were saying with Zelda. Like, you're gonna have to fight Wolf at some point. The whole Slippy, Peppy crashing thing, sure, granted. And I think it's fine to have homages. I mean, that game is, 20 years old at this point?
Yep.
So it's, I think it's fine to have homages in there. The series was, for all intents and purposes, pretty dead before this came out. And so it definitely has a lot of, love letters to older Star Fox games. What actually surprised me was how much it alluded to the Super Nintendo Star Fox, because Nintendo has kind of acted like that game doesn't exist in the other Star Fox games for a long time.
The walker is a very obvious thing, which I think the walker it's like a revelation in this game. The walker is so much fun to use.
It controls really well. We'll talk more about controls in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's essentially Nintendo's way of saying, like, oh, you don't want Fox to get out of his ship? Okay, we'll give his ship legs. Like, good job, Nintendo.
And
you did it.
I mean, like, because even the targeting when you're in the walker, like, it kind of just feels like a 3D action game.
Yeah.
To an extent there. Like, I love the way the walker controls, and for me, there's a thrill when you're in, like, there's because we can talk about all these levels now. The terrible level with the missiles. I don't
like that level?
Well, no, my beef is more with the stupid things that attach themselves to the Great Fox.
Oh, just shoot a bomb at him, bro.
Oh, that's a good idea. Damn. but even still, like, if those things get on the Great Fox and it's like, oh, I gotta turn around and do this, like, but what I love doing in that, and I'm curious to see what your method for taking out those missiles were or what it was, because I would go on to the head of the missile, turn into the walker,
oh jeez,
and then hover in the air on it, fire, and, like, shoot off the one part of the missile, then hover in the air, fire, shoot off the other part of the missile, and then flip around and then like hover in the air and fire at the head of the missile to blow it up.
Holy crap! That is
and it was so cool.
That is way. I mean, I just flew up behind him and just waited. I aimed straight alongside of him because the exposed parts of the missile. I guess we should explain this since this is coming out at a time when like people haven't played the game yet. But you're chasing after these missiles. They're in 3 segments and they kind of rotate each segment, and each segment has like a certain amount of weak spots on it that kind of protrude. And so
I think
just
like
fly
the first one has 2. I think the second one might have 4, and then the head has like weak spots around the whole thing.
Yeah. I'd either come in behind them and just fire straight along the side and wait for my lasers to line up with the thing, or one of the cool things that the controls of this game allowed me to do is I'd just fly up alongside it, kind of match my speed with it, and then just look over and pick off the things, because you can do that because this game is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, like I did do it more traditionally the first time I played that level, but I know what happened is I thought that level had an alternate path because I was trying to like the way the structure of the game, which okay, I'm looking at the embargo. We can say how many levels there are. There are 20. Even though I think that there was, I think the level screen has circulated before this. But anyway, there are 20 levels, and I had 19 of them, and I was trying to look for the last one. So I think I replayed this level several times, because I was just like, where the hell is the damn... Because I was like, there's an open spot on the map right there, it's got to be from there. But it wasn't in that level, pro tip. But I played that one a lot, so I kind of just developed this alternate strategy, and I love doing that, and I love that part of the walker when you're in space, because they do have a lot of fights where like you can kind of land on something and attack it. There's video that I put up back to the preview embargo of the one level. What's the name of it? It's one of the sectors. It's the one where there's that shield that like you need to get through at the right time, and then you turn to the walker, go inside, and then you turn out of the walker and get out of it, and then it blows up.
Okay, so in that level, you fly in, you take out the core. And then the Cornerian army is just like, okay, we're going to blow it up. You should probably move. And they just start counting down. I'm like, you guys were totally fine with killing me just now. That is, like, I saved you. And you're just,
Jerks.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think that was probably because I was going to mention that level. That was kind of the first time where, I realized that I could transform into the walker, like, in space, land on an enemy ship, and then, like, get inside of it. Like, in that, oh, man.
It's so cool.
This game is really cool, guys.
And like, I mean, pretty much everything with the R-Wing and the Walker, I adore. Like, it's so much fun. There are definitely some levels that I'm not as big of a fan of. Like, there are a couple where the Great Fox is like being attacked and you need to protect it. And I mean, it's like an escort mission. Like, those are some of my least favorite levels. But even still, like, I love the way that the R-Wing handles. Like, it's the best.
Yeah.
And I guess speaking of the controls,
I was gonna say, should we just talk about the controls and just get this out of the way?
We should get this out of the way. Screw the haters. I really like them. Yeah. I really like these controls, and I will admit, I don't know if I'd say they're perfect. They definitely take some time getting used to. Even you and I, who going back to E3 last year, we were very much like, we played it at E3. We're like, all right, I'm in. Like, give me this game right now.
Yeah.
And when I sat down to play the final copy, there was a little bit where I'm like, these controls. And like I finished the game, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think these were necessary. Like, I was thinking back to, like, you think of like weird controls in like Skyward Sword, where my conclusion with that game is that I don't think that game's as much fun without the Wii motion controls. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that Skyward Sword is a brilliant game, in part because of the controls. And I was thinking with Star Fox Zero, and I'm like, you could probably take these controls out, and it would have been a fine game. But then I played, there's an optional control scheme that if you're that like stubborn and don't want to use any motion controls, this is probably your best option. There's a way that you can, it's just like a toggle, basically.
Yeah, and then the pause menu.
The reticle will only move when you're holding down the fire button. I tried playing some levels with that and hated it.
Yep.
And I realized that this game would not be any fun if it controlled like a normal Star Fox game.
Yep.
And part of that's because it's designed for these motion controls, but I also think that those controls allow you to be much more dynamic and creative in how you attack levels.
You could put those controls into Star Fox 64, and I think it would add a lot to the game.
Yeah.
It's this game isn't so much. I mean, like you said, there's definitely elements of it that are designed around those controls, but I think that just as a arcadey flight sim shooter game, those controls just work really well.
Yeah.
They would in any game of this type. I mean, you could put those in Rogue Squadron, and it would be awesome. Do that, by the way, because I want to play that.
Yo, Lucasfilm, LucasArts, Disney.
LucasArts doesn't exist anymore.
Lucasfilm. Whoever, do it. Get Platinum Games, they'd probably do it. After their Turtles game, just be like, hey, that Star Fox game, make it Star Wars.
But yeah, I will say, to anyone who, really is just not down on these controls, is nervous about them, I guess my Let's Play won't quite be up yet, but that'll go up at the second the game comes out.
I think it's allowed to go up at midnight Eastern time.
Yep.
When the game's up on the eShop.
Yep. But I played this. That Let's Play is me playing the game literally for the first time, and so I have no experience with the controls beyond E3, and I am consuming alcohol and mildly intoxicated, and it was fine. It took I went through Corneria and was like, oh, this is taking some getting used to. And then by the second level, I think I commented, wow, I'm not even thinking about this anymore.
Yeah,
It took my brain a little bit to be like, okay, there's one more element of the controls, and now we're used to it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was never a problem.
And I think what's really integral with the controls, and part of the reason why they work so well, is, it reminds me of the Splatoon controls, where there's just that really easy way to reset, because when you're playing this, the natural inclination is to move a little bit. You're going to move your hands and your reticule is going to be off, but all you have to do is tap a button and it centers it. And that's super helpful. And also, pretty much everything that you do in that game, there's two different button inputs. You can do the stuff with the sticks to do somersaults and U-turns, or you can just press a button.
Yep.
And having that ease of use just makes those controls, even if they're obtuse in some spots because it's just not something we're used to, it just makes them, it feels more natural than I ever really thought it would. Yeah.
No, it feels, it's a very immersive experience. I actually wound up kind of in the later portion of playing through it some more. I switched a lot to playing in the cockpit view on the TV. I found that easier to do.
Yeah, I only... what's funny is that they did send us along a press release, or a press thing that was here's some tips, and it's tip number 1, and I didn't notice that until I was near the end of the game. I was like, what's the minus button do? I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I used it a little bit, but I still I think I've just gotten so acclimated to the normal setup that I just never switched to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was doing it. I was Let's Playing it, so I wanted to switch what was being captured on the TV. But yeah, that cockpit view.
But there are a few levels, especially the dogfights.
Yes.
That, the controls it's so awesome. And it makes these fights that, I was looking at the videos that I captured, especially that wolf fight, and I think visually that fight's kind of boring. But when you're in the moment, it's so intense.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're in the cockpit view and you look up and you can see Wolf flying over you, and then you look up and shoot him from below, or it's so dynamic and it's just so immersive, and it's really good. Even if motion controls aren't your thing, I think you owe it to the developers of the game to try it, because they obviously put a lot of work into it, and it works really well.
And I don't think I'm at a point, I made the somewhat bold statement that I didn't think I could play another Zelda game after playing Skyward Sword. That was a bold-faced lie. So I'm not going to go that far. If they were to be oh great, we're making Star Fox 1, and it's going to have regular controls, I wouldn't be you sons of bitches. But at the same, I think these controls are very fun. I think they work. I don't think they are bad controls. I think they are weird controls, but I think they make the game better.
Well, and if you didn't want weird, inventive control schemes and weird, inventive games, why in the world did you buy a Wii U? What are you on?
The screen is in the controller? I didn't
right.
know if you guys knew that.
Like, this system is built for people who want weird and experimental, like, controls and games, and this is it. Like, this to me is, like, one of the best uses of this hardware we've seen. Probably will see.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few games that really takes advantage of what the Wii U has to offer.
Yeah.
I guess, is there anything else worth talking about? I guess I think the Landmaster and the Gyro Wing are both very underused.
Yeah.
To the point when I was writing my review, my first draft didn't include any mention of the Landmaster, because by the time I sat down to write it, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, that was in like 2 levels.
I will say, just about the Landmaster, it's interesting. They've talked, I mean, it's pretty widely known at this point that your first run through the game, you don't have access to all the transformations, and then you unlock them at certain points in the game. And so when you go to Titania the first time, you have the Landmaster, but it's just the tank form. And then if you go back through it, you'll have that transformation. And so I went back through it and I actually found an alternate exit from that level on accident. Just because I was like, oh, I can fly through this part. I'll go up here. And then it was like... And that's the kind of stuff, like, those transformations, a lot of times, kind of very naturally help you to find those alternate routes, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, the Walker one in the first level, which has been shown a lot. Although the frustrating thing with that is, pro tip, if you're playing this game, don't go back to that first level right when you get the Walker transformation, because it will do nothing.
Yeah.
You have to, like, there's a certain point in the story where they're like, oh, go back to Corneria, and then you can go to the alternate path.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a little frustrating. Like, I wish that all of the stuff wasn't gated from the start, because I thought I was doing something wrong, because I was like, well, there's that secret path in Corneria, I'm getting it, but how come I'm not going to the other level? Yeah, it's almost just like play through the game straight and then try to look for the secret stuff.
Yep.
Because it's not like they open up when the game... It's almost like Metroid Other M, where like you need to wait for Adam to tell you to be able to use this transformation and go to this level. You need General Pepper to just be like, use the power bomb.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really, really enjoyed this game. I think that it's a little bit too much of, like, I think it's a little too remakey. And that's a little disappointing to me, because we've had, 6 Star Fox games, and half of them have essentially been remakes of the original.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of a bummer. And there was this part of me that was hoping that, like, this would be like the Star Trek reboot, where, like, you'd get to the end, and, like, it's just, like, James McCloud is actually, like, old Fox. And he's like, oh yeah, I came from this alternate timeline where there was dinosaurs, and like I was dating this girl named Crystal, and like things got weird, and I came back and I had to save it. Like, if they did that, I would love this game, but they didn't. So like, I like it.
There's still secrets to uncover, Neal.
Yeah,
as we discussed before we started recording this, there are things that neither one of us have unlocked.
Yeah, there are trophies that you can get, a la Star Fox 64. And you will get something for getting all 70. Maybe it's a multiplayer mode. That'd be pretty dope. But I really have no idea. The trophies are kind of hard to get. But the trophies do unlock a bunch of, like, challenge missions, which I thought were pretty fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize those were there for a long time.
Did you play the one with I forget the name of it, but it's like the little, like, RC car?
Yeah, that's like
that was kinda
nowhere
cool.
else in the game. It's like just for those. Those were cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. There were some things that it fell short a little bit for me. That's why I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Well, disappointed in you, Neal.
What would you give it? Like, are you gonna write a second opinion? We still have a couple hours. You can write.
I mean, I might. I need to finish my Star Fox Guard. I need to figure out what my score is for Star Fox Guard.
I mean, I take it you were much higher on the game than I am, which I kind of... After I played it and wrote my review, I was like, I think he's going to be higher on it than I am.
Well, and that's... I mean, I think that's... I mean...
It was going to happen.
Duh. Like, I mean, I like Star Fox Adventures in Command, so it's no surprise that an actual good Star Fox game would sit pretty highly with me.
Star Fox Zero is very good. I want to see more games like Star Fox Zero. That would be fun. Thank you very much.
Hopefully we won't have to wait another 2 console generations before we get the next Star Fox.
So I guess any final thoughts on Zero before we move on to talking about Guard for a little bit?
Just that Zero is perfect, and me and Neal were right all along. Shut it.
As of this time, I don't know what anyone else is giving it review-wise. My prediction, I think we're going to be on the high end.
I think, yeah, oh, well, we talked about this before, just like over text, but, you know, they're going to bash the controls.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, they're going to speak very highly of VR.
And I think that, not that this is completely analog, because I understand, like, some of the complaints about, like, you're going between two screens, but, like, a lot of that, like, oh, I'm using an analog stick to move, and then, like, turning my head to move, like, that's VR.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a similar, it's not identical, I'm not that dumb, but it is something similar to me, and I find it funny, because you hear, it's like, these kind of weird controllers are so subjective, it's so fickle, because you could have, you know, one weird control scheme will really click with a person, and another one will not. And for me, this clicked with me. Like, I got it. There wasn't really a lot of time where I didn't get it. It just kind of felt natural.
Yeah, just do it.
Yep.
Get good.
So Star Fox Guard, I have not played as much of, but we'll touch on that a little bit. John, what are your feelings on Star Fox Guard?
Star Fox Guard is, I guess it officially now takes the cake for weirdest Star Fox game. Nintendo had to work hard to come up with something weirder than Adventures, but they did it. I mean, it's like Five Nights at Freddy's meets a tower defense game. I don't know how else to describe it. And it's a cool concept. It feels like the kind of ideas that were in, like, Nintendo Land. And so it feels like a very good use of the Wii U hardware. It's kind of long, and it doesn't have a huge amount of variety. They do add a lot of different enemy types throughout the whole thing, but that core gameplay can get a little repetitive. But it's fun. It's really fun if you have other people to play with, because they can yell at the screen and you can get frustrated, and it's great.
I really like this as a multiplayer game a whole lot.
Yeah, and on the, you know, brief topic of multiplayer, I thought it was really cool that they included the there's essentially a level editor where as you go through the games, every time you beat new robots, they get added to your inventory for the level editing mode, which allows you to set up your own attack waves, and then other people can play those, and if they lose to you, then your profile gets points and you gain experience and everything. If you lose to them, then you lose points, and so it's kind of this cool online community aspect. Obviously, there weren't a whole lot of different levels to play during the review period, but it was a cool extra feature that I wasn't really expecting back when they showed this off as Project Guard. Yeah, it's good. It's not. I've been having trouble really, like, formulating my opinion on it, because as a free game that comes with something that I totally consider worth $60, this is awesome. Yeah. As a game that I would pay, you know, what is it, $20 on the eShop or something like that? I think
it's 15.
Okay, yeah, there it's kind of like, well, maybe it's probably worth that.
It kind of reminds me, and I guess I've been bad at pimping our Patreon during this, which launched the day before reviews.
We're not used to it yet. We're just starting.
It's new to us. But if you wanna support us, and I promise that with Star Fox Zero, you patrons aren't getting anything early because it's embargoed. But whenever we have any other review copies, like pretty much anything that we can possibly tell you about, we will tell the patrons definitely, and everybody else maybe. I don't know.
We'll tell them later.
Yeah, we'll tell you. You'll hear it a little later. But I just posted my review for patrons. That I guess it'll be up for everyone like the end of the week. But I wrote a review for My Nintendo, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, Picross, or whatever the full name is. And as a game that I got for like 1,000 funny money coins, I really enjoyed it. But if like I reviewed that game as a game that I spent time with, and like it's an okay Picross game, I've played better. So, like, that was, I mean, it's similar to Guard in that respect, in that, like, Guard, if you consider it as a bonus, it's a great bonus, but if you consider it as a game that you spend money on, then it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. It's certainly not a waste of money.
Yeah. And I think where it sings is, like, the multiplayer idea. That's where I had the most fun. I played it with friends of the site, Third Rate Minion, and we were just shouting at each other, and I had a blast.
Well, I mean, this thing was essentially designed to be a tech demo, something that you could only do on Wii U, and it certainly is that. It's a very unique experience. That's why I can only describe it by combining two other weird games. So yeah, no, it's a cool game, and it's fun. It's got a good sense of humor, and I can't say anything about the ending, but there is a good payoff if you play all the way through.
Yeah. So that's Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. You can read our full reviews up on NintendoReport.com, and John will be starting his Let's Play series the minute this game comes out. So I guess if you're waiting for it to download, or if you're not going to get it right away, or if you're on the fence, or if you're getting a physical copy, check out his videos. I guess, the later today, if you're watching this on the day of the reviews, 420 Bros, we will, I'll be streaming a half an hour of Star Fox Zero and probably Guard as well. So, hang out. John and I might try to have a conversation during it, but we don't know if that's going to work or not.
Well, hopefully it'll be that Neal will be playing games and I will be answering your questions.
Yeah.
And we'll team up.
Yeah,
maybe
it'll be fun.
Or you might be watching that right now, and that's totally not what's happening. In which case,
sorry.
Whoops.
We tried, but yeah. I mean, Star Fox Zero is very fun. I highly recommend it. It's not going to be my favorite game of the year. I can tell you that much. That's Hyrule Warriors Legends right now. But I really like Star Fox Zero, and if you want to play a new Star Fox game, go for it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.